Hello and welcome. My name is Biagio Mazza, Pastoral Associate at St. Sabina Parish in Belton, Missouri, and I'm here to welcome you to another Do You Know series question. And today's question is, do you know the origins of the season of Advent? In order for us to explore, first of all, what the Advent is and its origins, it's important I want to read a quote from the general norms for the liturgical year and calendar, which state is the essence of the Advent season. And it says, Advent has a twofold character. As a season to prepare for Christmas, when Christ's first coming to us is remembered, as a season when that remembrance directs the mind and heart to await Christ's second coming at the end of time. Advent is thus a period for devout and joyful expectation. So jumping off of that purpose that we still have to this day with regards to Advent, it's important to kind of look at the origins of Advent. How did Advent begin? And it's important, first of all, to stress the fact that in the early church, Christmas, at least for the first 350 years or so, Christmas was not a major feast or celebrated event. What was primarily celebrated was the Easter season and Easter and the celebration of the Passion, Death, and Resurrection of Jesus. But once the church had been made acceptable by Constantine and the Roman emperors in the Roman Empire, they began to look at ways in which to celebrate various feasts, and usually by tapping into the various feasts that the Romans were holding. The Romans were primarily an agricultural society, and so during this time between December 17th and the 23rd, they actually noticed that the days were getting slightly longer. And they celebrated that occasion of the return of the sun and the return of the length of days, which would cause more fertility to the land, by holding a major feast as a celebration to the god of agriculture, namely Saturn. And they called those days from December the 17th to the 23rd as the SATURNALIA. And this was a major celebration, as typically of Roman celebrations of wine, women, and song. And so the church decided this would be an ideal time to celebrate the birth of Jesus, baptizing that feast. And the feast that they were actually trying to baptize and merge into was a feast called the Feast of the Unconquerable Son, the Son that was never conquered and is returning back to life. And so they thought that was an ideal way to celebrate the birth of the coming of the Son of God, Jesus. And so December 25th became the day in which they began to celebrate it. As is typical in the church year, whenever you have a time of a major feast, you also have a time of preparation for it. So early on, the December the 17th to the 23rd, the traditional Saturnalia in the Roman calendar for the Romans, was baptized, and that became the immediate preparation of for the Christmas season, the Christmas celebration. Soon after that, the tradition developed of modeling Advent on the season of Lent. And so now you have Advent lasting for 40 days. And since they didn't count Saturday and Sunday, since they were always festival days, they decided that in order to do that, to count up to 40 days, you had to go all the way back to November the 11th, the feast of St. Martin of Tours. So much so that oftentimes Advent was referred to as St. Martin of Tours festival or preparation time. In the Roman tradition, what developed is the Advent for preparation time as 4 Sundays before Christmas. And so those 4 Sundays were seen as primarily days of joyful anticipation for the birth of Christ, celebrating the birth of Christ at Christmas, whereas the 40 days of Advent modeled on Lent were seen primarily as days of penance and fasting and conversion of one's life to God. And so those were the difference. And ultimately in the 4th stage, what happened is those two were combined, the penance and fasting combined with the joyful anticipation, into what became known as the season of Advent, which became the typical way of preparing for the Christmas season. It's very important that even to this very day, we had those elements of both penance and conversion, as well as joyful anticipation. As a matter of fact, you could break up the season of Advent into two distinct parts. From the first Sunday of Advent to December the 17th, or December the 16th actually, it is a period of preparation and conversion of heart and mind and penance, with from December the 17th on to the 23rd and 24th as days of joyful anticipation, usually typically today celebrated with the O antiphons. Just to give you an idea with regards to the colors, there are similar colors during the Lenten season. There are colors of violet and rose-colored vestments. Same thing was done for Advent, but in order to distinguish now between the two seasons, we try to emphasize a more bluish tint to the violet in the vestments and in liturgical colors. And the third Sunday, called the Rejoice Sunday, Gaudete Sunday, is a time when rose or pink vestments are allowed. And one other distinction to make is the lectionary. The lectionary begins the fourth Sunday of Advent. The lectionary focuses on the first Sunday, on the second coming and the coming of Christ at the end times and judgment. The second and third Sundays focus on John the Baptist's call to us to repent and convert our lives. And then the final Sunday, the fourth Sunday, is focused on the Annunciation and the joyful anticipation of the birth of Christ at Christmas. So I hope this has explained a bit about the origins of the season of Advent, and I hope that this, as you celebrate Advent and as you celebrate the Christmas season, that this becomes a time of both changing heart and mind as well as joyful anticipation of the coming of the Lord at Christmas. So thank you very much, and I hope you will return once again to more Do You Know questions to deepen our faith and our relationship to God. Thank you.